Have you ever been invited to an Aussie party and been told to bring a plate? If you feel Aussie English is very weird, I agree. But there's always a reason behind it. So why do Aussies talk about eating the way they do? And how did these words become part of everyday life? Let's find out. Food is a beautiful shared experience, and Aussies have incorporated meals from many other countries and cultures. Because of this, you might come across a lot of words and ideas about eating in Australia that have evolved from other places. Sharing food can be an important part of Aussie culture and mateship. Since the early 20th century, we Aussies have used a particular phrase to talk about sharing food: bring a plate. If you've just arrived in Australia, you might think that your host is short of plates. Bring a plate actually means you should bring a plate of food to share. It doesn't have to be a literal plate. It can be a bowl of dessert, drinks, or anything really. But where did this phrase come from? At the start of the 20th century, Aussies who were attending a fundraiser or a club event might be invited to bring a plate of cake instead of buying a ticket. By the 1920s, we shortened the phrase to just bring a plate of whatever you could. Whatever you do, if you get asked to bring a plate to a Barbie, be sure to put some tucker on it. And tucker just means any kind of food you like. While Barbie is a classic Aussie shortening for barbecue, we've only been saying it since the 1970s or so. The snag, or sausage, is the centerpiece of many Barbies and fundraisers at election booths. On election day, we have snags outside polling places and call it a democracy sausage. As Australians, we love shortenings. Research suggests almost 4% of all Australian words are shortenings. We shorten words because we like informality and often feel positively about people who shorten words and use nicknames. It's a friendly thing to do. Sometimes word stories come from multiple sources, and these stories help a word survive. The word goon is probably a shortening of flagon, which is just a fancy word for giant bottle of wine. However, there is also a word goom for alcohol, and these two sources may be behind goon. Either way, they're often used to refer to a box of wine. Perhaps the only thing more creative than boxed wine are the names and games we make up for it. We call boxed wine boxy, box monster, carty sharty, goon bag, and goon sack, among other things. Foods and our names for it have long been wrapped up in culture, class, and conflict, and this has influenced how Australians approach multicultural foods and the words for these foods. The earliest settlers and convicts took an interest in Indigenous food, or bush tucker, as it later came to be known. In 1864, Edward Abbott published the first cookbook in Australia, which included recipes for emu and kangaroo, among other recipes. Traditional tucker soon gave way to British and American fare in Australia, even in many Indigenous communities. After World War II, Australians started to slowly embrace multicultural food. Even when Aussies were reluctant multilinguals in other parts of life, they called many dishes by their original names: nasi goreng, chop suey, goulash. It's only in recent years that we have seen renewed interest in bush tucker. Indigenous restaurants have opened in more than a few capital cities. Our relationship with bush tucker represents the best and the worst of our relationship with Indigenous words and people. Australia's most famous animal is arguably the kangaroo, a word we have taken from the Gulku Yimithirr language. In contrast, Australia's popular edible native nut, the macadamia, is named after 19th century Australian chemist John Macadam, despite it already having many Indigenous names like Gumbara in the Yugambeh language or Kindle Kindle from the Gulbi Gulbi language. Aussies have been reluctant multilinguals, but as a growing multicultural nation, we're borrowing more words than ever. In general, we tend to celebrate our multicultural foods by adopting the words for these foods. This may be a matter of practicality. Can you think of a better name for a dim sum? We occasionally Aussify our borrowings, usually by shortening them. It's spagbol instead of spaghetti bolognese to some Aussies. And how we shorten chicken parmigiana may be the most divisive. Is it parma? Is it parmy? You might get thrown out of a pub if you give the wrong answer. Everything can be politicized, and food is no exception, especially since Aussies clearly feel so strongly about it. Words like kebab and halal snack pack or HSP are increasingly part of the Australian experience. In fact, in 2016, Halal Snack Pack was the People's Choice winner in the Macquarie Dictionary's Word of the Year competition. Our love for food in all its forms is a reflection of how we embrace people and new friends through eating and drinking together. We ask people to bring a plate, not just to make it easier to throw a party, but so we can try everyone's favorite food. Australia loves to share things from all cultures, and that's what makes Aussie English wonderful. It's a shared experience evolving with every new bite and every new word and every new mate who joins the table.